fresh off the heels of American classics such as House Party and House Party 2, we get our old friends. Uh, let's see, our old friends Kid and Play. It's Chris, Kid Reed, and Chris Play Martin in an old classic, Class Act, via 1992, 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. The story goes a pair of, from the opposite ends of the spectrum, one super brilliant, intelligent, Harvard bound, scholastic, just prodigy, and then another troubled youth, juvenile, by the way. Or, I hope you get that reference.
Yes.
In a situation where, of course, 1992, everything wasn't digital. They have files, and I don't. It seems weird to me. That had to have been Hollywood, because they're transfer students, both of them, and they have their student files with a picture that someone took with a Polaroid of them, and one pushes the other into the principal. The files go in the air. The pictures land on the other people's profiles. Thus, the idiot has to take the place as the criminal. The criminal has to take the place as the idiot. The criminal talks the idiot into getting him good grades to keep him out of jail. Yada, yada. Hilarity ensues. Did you guys watch the movie? If you did, give me some of your remarks, key points, things that you liked or didn't like.
I thought it was an entertaining movie. I feel like these movies that we've been doing recently kind of highlight the fact that movies don't have to like change your philosophy on life. Like sometimes they're just entertainment. It's an entertaining movie. And that was the one thing I picked up on too, Wes, is like maybe that this generation doesn't quite grasp, is like there was a time where you just had to like trust that someone was who they said they were. And the fact that their entire file, their entire lives get turned upside down is because their pictures end up in the wrong manila folder. That's it. And that's the crux of the movie. But it's the classic what's the like Parent Trap, it's that classic kind of like vehicle to get the movie rolling. And so they of course they learn from each other. They're so opposite, yet there's a common ground. There's a commonality there.
You're right. Duncan Pinder Hughes learns to not be so stuck up. Gets a little bit of raw, a little bit of edgy. And Blade Brown, which is funny because I went to high school with a guy named Blaine Brown. Blade Brown becomes a little bit sensitive, ends up winning out Ellen, a.k.a. It's not Vivian. What's her face from Fresh Prince?
I think it's
Hillary.
Hillary, yes.
Yeah, Hillary from Fresh Prince. You're right. So they learn from each other. Absolutely. Well, that's what I was going to say. Demita, Alicia Rogers. Whoo-wee. I'd fucking pay to smell her farts. Alan, this is...
I'd pay to eat her out in a jacuzzi.
I mean, it's a great film. I was excited when you picked this one. I didn't get to watch all of it because apparently we watch movies like this on fucking YouTube now.
But in 31 parts, by the way.
Yeah, fucking 10-minute segments. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. But I always loved this movie. I remember, like, when you said it, I was like, I had to think about it for a second. Then when I looked it up, I was like, oh yeah. Don't they go to a wax museum at some point in time? Isn't there some fucking weird fucking...
Yeah.
I can't remember. I didn't see the whole thing.
It's where the gangsters are chasing the group of youngsters who now the top's blown off the whole secret. Everyone knows that Blade is Blade, Duncan's Duncan. The women are like, are you going to be lying to me? And then they go to a wax museum that Demita works at to hide out / trick the gangsters into, I don't know, just basically, we know our territory, and our territory is a wax museum. Thus, we're going to defeat people with firearms. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, there's some logic in it.
Yeah. Check this out, though. Dougie Doug as Popsicle.
Yeah.
Thomas Michael Ford as Mink, who's the head honcho gangster. I think Brother Man from Martin is in this.
Bro Man.
Yeah. Is it Mesha Taylor, who I remember from Designing Women, who plays Duncan's dad, is in this.
Oh, yeah, I was trying to place him. I'm like, that's not Arsenio Hall. Who is that?
It's like Rick Dukeman, the guy he's the parole officer of Blade, who's been in a ton of shit.
Oh, yeah.
Check him out. Sam McMurray, who plays Skip, he's in it. Oh, Rhea Perlman from Cheers. She's the smart class professor who's hitting on Blade, aka Duncan at that point. Yeah, I'm good. That's a lineup.
Dude, bottom line is it was an enjoyable movie. There was nothing like I get that. Again, you're not going to come out of this film smarter or have some introspective like perspective on life like when you get away from it. It's just sit down, watch it, see how it unfolds. It's a good movie. It's a good bad movie. Nothing enriching, but nothing lost. It's just a fun movie. It's entertainment. Movies are supposed to be entertainment. This was an entertaining movie.
So I think, in another takeaway from this, Kid and Play, obviously, and rightfully so, need to be remembered for, and not solely for, but remembered for House Party. House Party is a great movie. That's a good movie. We can agree on that, right?
Yeah.
And then their hip hop career and their acting career, obviously producers and people on top tried to bank and cash in on their celebrity, assuming that it was either going to be short-lived or we're just going to ride this fucker as long as we can. Movie like this comes out, I personally think it gets a 17% because they're basing it off of House Party, which is unfair. You know what I mean? It's a better movie than that.
Well, I'll also say this, like, as far as advertising goes, like you think about they made G.I. Joe to sell G.I. Joe figures. They made Transformers to sell Transformers. If this was their thing, was like, we'll make movies to sell our music, mission accomplished, man. I mean, you're talking about a time before social media, before cell phones, before any of that stuff. Hey, how do we get people to know who Kid and Play is? Well, these guys are okay actors. Let's put them in a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I said two scenes that I want, if you're going to go back and watch this, I want everyone to remember. Yes, a couple. There's a few, but these are, well, actually three. One, when Popsicle is holding the holding the frog in front of the microscope and holding the popsicle up to his mouth, like, "Is a frog you want to lick?" It's just stupid, dumb comedy in general. But one, it was where Blade is trying to teach Duncan like street terminology. And he's like, you don't be doing this. You be fly. You be fly with a bitch. Things like that, And then Duncan tries to get all smart with him. He's like, oh, you're using like the first adjective and then like a third person context. He's like, what? And then he finally starts getting it. And he's like, something about being deaf, and he interprets it as he can't hear. He's like, yeah, thanks, man. Like, you're deaf? Yeah. He's like, Blade Brown is the dumbest son of a bitch I've ever met in my life. And he punches him. Another one, I caught this. They probably should have recorded it again, or they probably should have done another take. But it's so genuine. I don't know if you remember this. This is the point where you guys remember Wedge, the guy who keeps getting his ass kicked. He's the antagonist who's supposed to be a high schooler who looks like he's fucking 30.
He wears half shirt cutoffs to high school. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's working for Wink, the gangster. He's like collecting money via drugs, whatever. But he's driving. Well, Mink is in the passenger seat. He's like going through his gun. He goes, "Do you have any do you have any leftover ammo?" He's like, "Yeah, I think so." He's like, "Either you do or you don't." He's like, "Yeah, I got some." "No, I don't got any." And then he's been slapping him the entire film, and he rears up to hit him in the back of the head, and Wedge starts laughing because he can't. The guy who's playing him can't hold down. It's like, and then they just cut to another scene. They probably should have done that again, but I think it adds to just how stupid this movie could be at points. Anyway, enjoyable.
Yeah. And here's a fun fact about Kid and Play. Did you know that Kid and Play, Salt and Peppa, and Martin Lawrence all worked at the same Sears and made a promise to each other that if one of them made it, then they would bring the other one along. And when Salt and Peppa got big, Martin Lawrence opened for him with his stand-up act.
That's awesome.
I remember Martin was in House Party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a great one. I think "Ain't Gonna Hurt Nobody" by Kid and Play should be the outro song this week.
Ain't gonna hurt nobody. I gotta play it over my phone. I could do
Just
that though.
dancing, y'all. Yeah.
This is actually when he's teaching him to dance in the bedroom. It's what's that? Christ, hold on. Give me a minute. I'll remember it. In the meantime, Alan, tell all the children's and all the class acts where you can find the middle class halls.
Oh, well, you can find us for all your listening pleasures on the Google Podcasts, the Apple Podcasts, and the Spotify. And, of course, for your social medias, please check us out on Instagram and Twitter. We're at MDL Classholes. We're the Middle Classholes on Facebook and TikTok and fucking Rumble and Grindr and fucking all the good stuff. So check us out.
It's a shame the way you mess around with my heart. That jam. That's what I was talking about.
Bops.
Dude,
All
Kid and
the
Play
bops.
the quote tag team dance. Like, I mean, are there any other innovators that you can think of off the top of your head? Like, everybody knows like the foot shake, bounce in a circle. Like, I mean, that's Kid and Play. That's like classic fucking 90s. That's
Yeah. It was when
contributed.
I was talking to Dewey today, I was talking about because we, of course, here at December 14th, we're talking about what we're going to get our mom for Christmas.
Plenty of time.
Yeah. But I explained that we were doing a review of this, and he's like, "Yeah, the Pajama Jammy Jam." I was like, "No, that's House Party 2." He's like, "No, that's where the two guys, like the smart guy and the criminal, get like their identities swapped up." It's like, "Yeah, that's class act." Yeah, then they have a party later on called a Pajama Jammy Jam. I was like, "That's House Party 2."
It's definitely House Party too.
Yeah.
Oh, and my favorite line of the movie, by the way, because every movie from that era had to have a gay joke, and I'll say they were rather progressive in their gay joke. He's trying to get Duncan ready, and he's taking out the classic Kid and Play, like super high top,
high flat. Yeah.
and they're making some grunting noises and saying some sexually suggestive things, and the dad overhears them, and he sits down and he goes, "Honey, have you ever thought about Duncan's sexual preference?" And she goes, "I didn't know he had one." And that was it. That was the big early 90s gay joke.
Then they go back to reading their newspapers at 8
Yep.
p.m.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
That's right.
if memory serves me right, at the end, doesn't he catch him having sex with what's her face, and then
Demita.
he's like, yeah, he's not gay. Like,
It's like,
you know what I mean?
Our young son Duncan was fornicated with a very fly honey in our bedroom. Look. And then that riles the parents up to then have sex, because that's, I mean, what parent doesn't get turned on by their child fornicating, you know?
In their beds.
It's the circle of life. It's the circle of life.